Hello everyone, I'm Marian, and I'll be presenting this week's overview, summarizing the reading materials and discussions from the second week of our class. We covered topics in Chapter 2, Brain and Behavior, and Chapter 3, Human Development. To test your understanding and improve your critical thinking, I'm going to first ask you a question, pause for a moment, and then provide an answer. Before we got started, someone told me that I may seem more human if I tell a joke every once in a while. I've never considered myself funny, but I'll give it a shot. Do you know why avatars never get lost? Because they always follow the right algorithm. Haha. How did I do? I'll try to do better next time. Let's get started. In Section 2.1, we explored the nervous system. Can you outline the major divisions of the nervous system? The nervous system comprises the central nervous system, referred to as CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, referred to as PNS. The CNS includes the brain and the spinal cord, while the PNS consists of the somatic nervous system, SNS, and the autonomic nervous system, ANS, which further branches into the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. That's a lot of acronyms. But don't worry, you won't have to remember all of them for your test. Just know that the peripheral nervous system is the only part of the nervous system that is outside of the brain and spinal cord, and that the sympathetic nervous system is part of the autonomic nervous system. In fact, you might want to write that down in your notes. Moving on to the structure of neurons, can you identify the important parts of a neuron? Key parts of a neuron include the dendrites, cell body, axon, and axon terminals. These components work together to transmit neural signals within the nervous system. For the quiz, you need to know that a neural network is an interlinked collection of neurons that processes information in the brain. Can you recall how neurons operate and communicate with each other? Neurons transmit signals through a process called an action potential, which travels along the axon and triggers the release of neurotransmitters at the axon terminals. This chemical communication between neurons is essential for neural function and information processing. The fascinating ability of our brain to reorganize itself by forming new neural pathways throughout life and in response to our experiences is referred to as neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. Can you distinguish between the two, neuroplasticity and neurogenesis? Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize in response to experiences, while neurogenesis pertains to the generation of new neurons in the brain, contributing to its ongoing development and function. For the quiz, you'll also have to remember that the limbic system is best defined as a set of brain structures that play important roles in regulating emotion and memory. Also, unlike adult brains, newborn babies' brains are highly plastic and moldable, which makes it easy to learn new things. Moving to Chapter 2.3, we delved into the cerebral cortex and lateralization. We learned how the left and right hemispheres of the cerebral cortex, which are connected by the corpus callosum, specialize in different functions, shedding light on the complexities of brain functionality. At this point, you may be asking yourself, why do we have to learn all of this in an intro to psychology class? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is where it gets very interesting. As the central processing unit for our body, the brain controls the endocrine system. Hey, don't laugh about my pronunciation of words. I'm just an AI avatar, which releases hormones like oxytocin and dopamine that can drive feelings of happiness, contentment, or excitement. Or increase epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, provides incredible energy, while drops in hormones like estrogen and progesterone may trigger negatively charged mood swings. Dips in testosterone may correlate with low mood. Excessive testosterone may trigger rage or aggression. In other words, the brain and the endocrine system is a very influential part of behavior and personality. It's this interaction between the endocrine glands and the brain that highlights the holistic nature of physiological and psychological processes. This is an important slide for your weekly quiz. Oh, and I forgot to mention, remember that the sympathetic nervous system is responsible for the fight or flight response in our brain. As we move toward the end of Chapter 2, we explore the concept of self-regulation and its profound impact on our personal and professional lives. Self-regulation, associated with the brain's frontal lobes, plays a crucial role in goal setting, emotional control, and long-term success. This understanding of brain and behavior, human development, and the intricate connections between our physiological and psychological processes will be a foundation for future explorations in this course. As we move along to Chapter 3, Human Development, we learn about the forces that shape development, nature, and nurture. Do you remember how genes impact human development? Genes reside on deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA, in the nucleus of each cell. The DNA is twisted into chromosomes, and the DNA in each of the body's cells is identical. The genes in each cell carry hereditary instructions. Most characteristics are polygenic and reflect the combined effects of dominant and recessive genes. Can you explain how the environment impacts human development? Prenatal development is influenced by intrauterine environmental factors, such as various teratogens, including diseases, drugs, and radiation, as well as the mother's diet, health, and emotions. After birth, a variety of environmental factors, access to good food and healthcare, schooling, family members, peer groups, media, and so on, contribute to the child's development. Environments that are deprived will hamper development, while enriched environments will optimize it. Can you explain how epigenetic factors impact human development? Though the genetic instructions in every cell are the same, those instructions can be read differently depending on epigenetic markers that are the product of environmental influences. For this reason, developmental psychologists say that heredity, nature, and environment, nurture, are interacting forces that are both necessary for human development. In Chapter 3, Section 2, the authors discuss how physical and perceptual development changes throughout our lifespan. Do you remember the key aspects of physical development across the lifespan? Physical development tends to look similar across people, as evidenced by common infant reflexes and physical development that proceeds in a cephalocaudal and proximal manner. Physical changes that characterize puberty, like development of sex characteristics, and adulthood, like muscle and bone weakness, are also relatively similar across individuals. Though such similarities suggest an important role for nature or genetic factors, environmental factors, like opportunities to practice motor skills in infancy, maintaining a healthy lifestyle in adulthood, also contribute to physical development. In addition to key aspects of physical development, there are also key aspects of perceptual development across the lifespan. Can you remember the key aspects of perceptual development? While most of our senses, hearing, taste, touch, smell, are well developed at birth, infants' vision is not as good as that of older children and adults. However, environmental stimulation and maturation of the visual system lead to rapid improvements, such that babies will see as well as adults by the age of 1 year. Depending on environmental factors, like reading in poor light or listening to loud music, declines in perception, hearing loss, or poor vision may be seen as early as adolescence and continue in adulthood. Finally, there are emotional and social development aspects to consider. Can you remember the key aspects of emotional development across the lifespan? Basic emotions emerge very early in childhood and include happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. In contrast, some complex emotions, such as embarrassment, shame, guilt, and pride, require a sense of the self as separate from others and thus do not develop until later, approximately 18 months. Emotions are often more intense in adolescence than they were in childhood. Though positive emotions are common, survey data suggests that recent generations of adolescents appear to be managing higher levels of sadness, depression, and fear, anxiety than has been the case in the past. In terms of adulthood, there is little truth to the common adage that all adults experience an emotional midlife crisis. Instead, adulthood, and particularly older adulthood, is often characterized by high levels of positive emotion that may be related to the positivity effect, the tendency to pay attention to, and remember, more positive than negative information. Aging is also associated with an improved ability to regulate emotions. Some negative emotions, including anger and despair, appear to characterize the response to imminent death, though such responses are by no means universal. In Chapter 3.2, you read about Erik Erikson, an ego psychologist who developed one of the most popular and influential development theories. While his theory was impacted by psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud's work, Erikson's theory centered on psychosocial development rather than psychosexual development. Erik Erikson identified a series of specific psychosocial dilemmas that occur as we age. Successful resolution of the dilemmas produces healthy development, whereas unsuccessful outcomes make it harder to deal with later crises. That concludes our Week 2 summary. Next week, we will discuss Chapter 4, Sensation, Attention, and Perception, and Chapter 6, Conditioning and Learning. Until then, have a wonderful day.